Hello, bruvs. I found a few interesting articles on Mary Katherine Hester's husband, whom she married in 1946 when she was, I think, 24 or 5? 24, I believe. Um, I have photos from the wedding that I found in newspapers. Not the wedding, but I have her photos of her as the bride, and then her and her brother and other such articles, but I'm going to share this one because this one was exceptionally good. The Knoxville News Sentinel of January 10th, 1951. Story called We Landed, Dove for Cover, then Marched into Battle, which covers an episode in the Korean War. Here you can see Arthur, what's his first middle name? Jasper Cockrell. His father was Arthur Jasper Cockrell Sr., and he was Junior. His father went by A.J. Cockrell, and he owned the Stratford Hotel where Mary Katherine Hester and her parents lived, along with her brother. And I assume that's where they met this guy, Arthur Jasper Cockrell Jr., and her. I'm not sure when they met. There's no mention of him in the journal up until 1939. So, I mean, she had 7 years before she would meet him. Anyway, here it is. We landed, dove for cover, then marched into battle. Knox Marine back on a hero's story. First to return. First to return of 19th Engineers tells of fighting, and he had also served briefly, I believe, in World War II. First to return of 19th Engineers tells of fighting. Remember when those 150 Marines of the 19th Engineers said goodbye to families and friends at Southern Station? Boarded their train and left on the first leg of their trip to Korea. It was only last August, but to the boys who were to become men overnight, it has seemed like years. The first of those 150 was back home in Knoxville today, a hero. There he is. The others are still on the firing line in hospitals and rest camps. Some are no more than white crosses in a foreign land. To receive Silver Star, the hero who came home is Sergeant Arthur J. Cockrell, who stopped en route at 7 hospitals for treatment of wounds and frostbite. His buddies have written home that he is to receive the Silver Star for heroic action in the Chosin Reservoir fighting December 7th. It was there that he wiped out a Chinese Red machine gun nest single-handed and killed 3 Red soldiers with nothing more than his .45 caliber automatic. Everybody got quota. How many of the enemy did Sergeant Cockrell kill? Those 3 I know for sure, he said, but I guess I must have accounted for 50 or 60. 50 was a Marine's quota. Everybody got his quota. Sergeant Cockrell wasn't boasting. He isn't the type. He was telling his story to his family last night, and a News Sentinel reporter took a back seat listening to the questions and answers. Was like heaven. Minutes earlier, Sergeant Cockrell had alighted from a Delta Airlines plane at Municipal Airport. To him, it was like heaven, for meeting him were those most dear to him. In that group were his pretty wife, Miss Mary Katherine Cockrell, the author of that diary, his 2 Marine sons, Arthur III, who was 4 last Monday, and Jimmy, 20 months, his mother, Mrs. A.J. Cockrell Sr., widow of the Knox legislator, his 80-year-old grandfather, J.R. Bruce, his sister, Mrs. J. Pearlson Seal, his parents-in-law, Mr. and Mrs. J.W. Hester, Jr., and his brother-in-law and family, Mr. and Mrs. W.B. Bill Hester and son, W.B. Jr. Here's Mary Katherine. As I said, she was the author of the 5-Year Diary that I've been reading. And there she is right there. And the 2 babies and her husband. Let's see what the caption says. Wonderful Christmas. Who cares if Christmas is late? I don't know what T stands for sergeant. I'm thinking staff sergeant. I don't know, the sergeant. Was home today with his family. Hello, bruvs. Was home today with his family after a hellish nightmare in Korea. The wounded hero's Christmas packages were seized by Chinese Reds in a mail convoy, but the family had other presents waiting for him at home. Here the sergeant opens them at 2044 East 5th Avenue. Miss Cockrell and children Jimmy left, and Arthur III lend a hand. And we'll go to the next page. This is where he tells the story. Knox Marine tells of battling Reds. And that's the communists in Korea. Somebody Trotter Jr., who met him with a great big hug and kiss. You see, Mrs. Trotter's Marine husband is in Japan, and seeing Sergeant Cockrell come home was the next best thing. Marine John Trotter in Sergeant Cockrell's outfit and a brother of W.C. was killed in Korea a few weeks ago. Well, this group went to the J.W. Hester's Jr. home, 2044 East 5th Avenue, with Mr. Seal joining them. There they forced Sergeant Cockrell to tell them about the war in Korea and about himself. Bit by bit, they got his story. We got into Korea fast. I landed with other Marines at Kimpo Airfield outside Seoul and immediately dove for cover. The field was under fire by the North Koreans. The next plane that landed was all shot up on the field. God, how we marched. Then we got straightened out and marched. God, how we marched. Never any rest. We got to Chosin, I don't know how to say it, and everything was under control until the Chinese Reds started pouring over us. Mine was the 1st Marine Division outfit. The Reds were fanatics. They blew those darn whistles, the kind you and I can buy at the 5 and dime, and then they attacked. They were doped up. We got cocaine off the captured and wounded. When they blew the whistles again, they quit. We could quit. I think he means we couldn't quit until more whistles sounded. Oh, wait, we could quit until more whistles sounded. Man, those Reds were so crazy that they would just run right on past you and not see you. Then we'd have to turn around and fight them in the rear. I had been lucky. The 1st Marines were all that kept the Reds from overrunning our entire front north of the 38th. The Reds had orders to wipe us out pronto. I had been pretty lucky, got shrapnel wounds in October, but I stayed at the front. On December 6th, 4 men and I went up to wipe out a machine gun nest on a railroad. While advancing, 2 of my Marines were hit. I told the other 2 Marines to take the wounded to cover, and I sneaked right on up to that machine gun. I could see only 2 Reds, but there were 4 there. I stood right over them and shot 2 of them with my pistol. I never did see the 3rd one until it was almost too late. He came from behind and to the side. He stuck his bayonet into my side, pinking me and cutting my clothes off. Then he yanked his gun free and struck me in the temple with it. I'm a southpaw and still had my pistol in my left hand. Don't know why I did it, but I switched the pistol to my right hand and hit him in the face with my left fist. Then I put the pistol back in my left hand and shot the Red right in the face. The 4th chink I never saw. He threw a concussion grenade at me. I took the main blow on my right shoulder and fell into a shell hole one of our planes had made the day before. That shell hole saved my life. Couldn't go back, because there I was in no man's land for 6 or 7 hours by myself. I couldn't go back to my lines because the fire was too heavy over my head, and I couldn't advance. My heavy clothing had saved me when that chink got me with the bayonet. I was wearing long-handled underwear, civilian undershirts, a wool undershirt, and dungaree jacket. Had to wear it. It was 30 degrees below. It was so cold that we had to use dynamite to blast for water. His grandmother interrupted. Something else saved your life, Arthur. I prayed for you, and I guess I asked every woman in my church to pray too. Nobody said anything for a while. Then one of the family circle asked Sergeant Cockrell how he got away. Almost got it again. Well, he picked up the story again. I saw a weapons carrier truck back there and got it going. Other Marines were on it. We pulled off the road to get around some burning jeeps and trucks, and then I almost got it again. A rocket burst caught the front of our weapons carrier, beheading our driver. I was knocked into a ditch. The burst caught me in the spine. Blood poured from my ears and nose. They carried me out somehow, flew me 40 miles into Hungnam. That was the last of the fighting for me. When I got it, it was December 7th, and I remembered what happened on another December 7th, way back in 1941. Even then, Sergeant Cockrell was in the Marines. He's been in 10 years, got slight wounds while serving on Guam in World War II. He thought of something funny. A newspaper story here said he was a Marine recruiter before going overseas. He wasn't. He was an insurance adjuster. We'd better get out. Mrs. Cockrell wanted to know how Sergeant Cockrell was hurt back. Let me scroll back up to the top of the paper. Back in October, we were advancing through a paddy field. A Morristown boy, I believe his name was Elliot, stepped on a landmine. He was killed. Shrapnel got me in the right hand and the nose. What should the United States do about our fighting men still in Korea? All we have to lose by leaving, Sergeant Cockrell said, is face, and we have a lot more than that to lose by staying. We'd better get out. Let me tell you why. Those Chinese are fighting us with lend-lease equipment and material we sent to China long ago. The only way the Marines had of getting their hands on a Thompson submachine gun was to kill a Red and take the Thompson from him. Those Reds are using American-built trucks. That's funny. That's actually pretty interesting. The lost 50 pounds. The 31-year-old Knoxvillian weighed in at 252 pounds 5 months and 7 hospitals later. He had to weigh himself to believe it last night. He was down 50 pounds to an even 202. He estimates that 50% of the 19th Engineers who left Knoxville in August have been wounded. Sergeant Cockrell shuffles now when he walks. I feel like I'm rocking back and forth. Most of the feeling is gone from his feet. His hands are partly numb, too, from frostbite. He said he left Robert Baird, who was twice wounded in a Jacksonville Naval Hospital, but doing okay. He said Don Kimsey, son of Police Chief Joe Kimsey, was in a Japan hospital, also twice wounded. George McKay, former Knoxvillian, but later of Nashville, was killed when he got hit in the stomach. So what we learned from this article is that Cockrell killed 50 to 60 Chinese, well, not Chinese, but Koreans. He calls them chinks. His words, not mine. But I assume that maybe they were fighting. We weren't fighting China and Korea, were we? Or were the Chinese involved? Anyways, he claims that they were all coked up, and that when they captured them, they found them with obviously bags of cocaine, and that they would blow whistles. Why the hell would they blow whistles? And also, he said that Americans had sold China a bunch of Thompson gunners, Thompson machine guns, and that the only way the Americans could get them was by killing a communist soldier. Crazy. Anyway, that's all. That's all. I thought that was a pretty good story. Since he... Where else did I read that soldiers were drugged up? Maybe it was Russian. I can't remember. Some other soldiers they claimed were all drugged up too. Makes sense though. I mean, you're in a war, you don't want people to just drop out, so you just give them a bunch of drugs. Well, obviously Vietnam people were getting high there, but anyway, that's all.